Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about cognitive distortions, and this basically is negative thinking. We all have negative thoughts that go through our minds thousands of times a day. A lot of times we never even realize them, or we don't act on them, because of the simple fact is we have so many thousands of thoughts a day. Most of the thoughts that automatically pop into our minds are distorted in some way. So the thoughts that we have, negative or positive, they're distorted in some way. It doesn't really matter where the thought came from or how we got the thought. It's distorted in some way, and it's about how we see that thought. These cognitive distortions temporarily result in negative change in mood and lower self-esteem. These thoughts occur frequently that it is easily not to notice them at all, but what we do notice is in the sadness of feeling sadness, anxiety, and anger. So, a lot of times we don't realize the thoughts until after the fact. And then once we do realize the thoughts, we're usually disappointed, sad, depressed, or whatever from it, or angry because of the thought and how it made us feel. It's like in the military, we had thousands of thoughts flowing through our heads because we had so much going on so much of the day that it was hard to process those thoughts. And then usually sometimes at the end of the day, we kind of figure it out and we were like, oh, okay. And then we'd either, go off the face of the earth because we're sad, or we'd be like, okay, I got to fix that. When individuals get anxious and they have so many thoughts going through their head, they develop what's called tunnel vision. And so they're not even really aware of the situations, they're just going through it. So let's talk about the different types of cognitive distortion. Black and white thinking. It's all or nothing. It's either one way or another. It's no gray in there. And there are so many shades of gray in thoughts and in how we perceive situations that we really don't take the time to analyze those. We think that it's either all bad or all good. And that's another cognitive distortion too. Because of the fact is that we are thinking that way. We're thinking that regardless of what the situation is, it's all going to be one way or another. Let's say that you start eating healthy diet to lose weight. You give into the temptation of chocolate, and a black and white thinking leads you that you failed your plan, and then you proceed to eat the entire box of chocolate. Black and white thinking does not acknowledge that there are usually several shades of gray between. It seems like there's only two possible outcomes. A person ignores the middle, which is the more reasonable ground. So yeah, you ate a piece of chocolate. Okay, that doesn't mean that you should eat the whole box. It just means that there's that gray area, like I ate a piece of chocolate, don't eat another piece, or I ate a piece of chocolate, I'm going to go ahead and eat the whole box because that's what I'm going to do. Generalizing and categorizing. This is the women. You men are all bad. You cheat on your wife. Or men, women are all bad. And that's overgeneralizing. That's just throwing out that negative connotation to all people and not actually realizing that it's only one or two bad apples in the bunch. Nothing ever goes right, and this makes me feel even worse. Even when you are trying to do right, you are convinced that it's not going to get any better. Puts things in perspective. How true it is that nothing ever goes right for you, considering how many other people in the world might be also having car trouble at that moment. If it's car trouble that triggers this thought, nothing ever goes right for me, just think of how many millions of people across the world are having car trouble at that time. So, do you think that it's everybody's thinking that? Do you ever judge others? When you judge all people as stupid, including women buying a ticket on her butt on the bus, you make yourself feel angrier and angrier because of minor mishaps. In other words, the woman's standing in the aisle buying a ticket, holding up the whole crowd, and it's making you angry because this woman is stupid. She should have bought her ticket before. Okay? Those little things are what snowballs into much bigger things. Jumping to conclusion. A person who jumps to conclusion will often make negative interpretations or predictions even when there is no real evidence to support their conclusion. Anticipating and accepting it is a fact. For example, you're at a party, you don't like your outfit, you decide everybody else is laughing at you, and you are convinced that your outfit is the worst one, because of what you're thinking and what you think that other people, and this is mind reading, and we'll get into that later, and then you're going to take all of this on and take your driver's test and know that you're going to fail, and that's called forecasting. So you're predicting something that's not even taking place because of the way you currently feel. A person jumping to conclusions will often make a negative interpretation or prediction when there is no evidence to support their conclusion. For example, imagine you pass your neighbor on the street and she says a quick hi but doesn't look very pleased to see you or act a friendly way. You must think that she's annoyed at you because your dog barking and is making plans to report you to the landlord. Do you have enough evidence to conclude that everyone is laughing at you at a party or that you're annoyed at you? It's like, no, you don't. So once again, it's a negative distortion. Magnification. You have to give me a little bit of a break this morning. My sinuses are killing me with our weather change we got in Texas right now. But anyway, you take one small event and you roll it into a snowball, and that snowball becomes a thing rolling down the hill, gonna wipe you out. For example, your new girlfriend declines an invitation to have dinner with your parents. Before giving her a chance to explain, you assume that it's her way of telling you the relationship's over with. But it doesn't end there. Then you go on imagining her ringing each of her friends and telling her what a mistake it is in dating you, and you decide you will never find another partner and you'll grow lonely. So just by your fiance deciding not to have dinner with your parents has caused you to go to the other end of the world and decide everything is over and that you will never find anybody to date. Personalization. Self-victimization. So this is where you have learned to be helpless. We all know people who feel sorry for themselves. We even fall victim of mindset every once in a while. Self-victimization is when persons reflects on their past trauma experiences and circumstances, even for circumstances or their present experience circumstances, overindulge in self-pity. So this is basically just saying that you're the victim all the time. Labeling. We label ourselves with specific behavior. You're lazy. All Hispanics are lazy. And so what you do is you find yourself defining negative behavior as a fault in how they label you. For example, I am always anxious, even though it is not the case. I am not good enough because you failed at something, even though there are many other things that you are good at. So you're labeling yourself as a failure in doing laundry, but you are terrific at cooking. So It's one of those things that you have to be careful not to overemphasize and try to make it into a big deal. Minimization, which is opposite of magnification. In other words, you don't take something as being that big of a deal. Like, I yelled at my boss today at work. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. It's your boss. You could get fired, so that's a pretty big deal. Our perception of reality is rarely reality. And cognitive distortions occur when the brain creates faulty connections and effectively lies to you. Everyone who reads psychology will be familiar with this phrase: correlation does not equal causation. And this is where such statement applies. It is commonplace to make connections when there is none, when there is interpreting life, as most people assume that the two variables are correlated. One causes lead to another. So basically, it's a cause and effect, But what we're doing is we're taking our thoughts and we're causing them to cause reality, which is not going to happen. Disqualifying the positive. This is the worst day of my life. Is it? Is it really the worst day of your life? A lot of people feel like when they get to an end of a road that it is the worst day of their life. They can't imagine any other day being so bad. And I can tell you, I have been in that thought process a lot of times until I finally realized what I was doing with the negative thinking and the distortions that I was feeding in there. And we feed our thoughts, okay? And we make them thoughts worse and worse, then better and better, because we keep pulling the negative in from different places. And being in the society we're in, we're surrounded by negativity all day, every day. Why? Because people thrive on negativity. They do not thrive on positivity, and that is why it's hard to find a group of people who are having a positive conversation without intending to do that. In other words, you walk into a group of people and you say, okay, we're going to have a positive conversation. First thing you're going to hear is silence, because people have to think how to have a positive conversation, because of the world we live in today is a negative connotation. That's why whenever people used to say, I want to change the world, don't try to change the world, just try to change your world. Try to take your world right here, right in front of you, nowhere else, and try to change your world. Because of the simple fact is, you can't change the world around you. You have to change the world within you. And once you make that change and you make that positive effort, then it will start to grow around you, and you will start to have people who want to be around you. That's why I have said, whenever I get into a group of people and I see that we're going into a negative connotation way or negative way, I usually disassociate myself with that group. Doesn't mean that I won't talk to the people later on. It's just right now they're in that negative. It's kind of like Charlie Brown. You don't listen to them, because that negative stuff coming in is going to be negative stuff going out. You don't want that. You want to be a positive influence on the people around you. You want to be somebody who can combat these thoughts and help other people. The black and white thinking, that's a real big one for the military, because we saw things one or two ways, either right or wrong. Either you were marching wrong or you were marching right. We don't break it down. It's like, okay, your steps are good, your arm swing's good, but you need to stay in step, left, right, left. We need to see those gray areas as we're breaking things down to people, putting the positive in and putting the negative, so they'll understand, hey, okay, I got some good and I got some bad, I need to make it all good. And that's the simple fact is, you can't really you can't really talk about the overall situation. You just have to do it in pieces, And so when you're talking to people, there's always reinforcement, and that will help them combat that negative thinking. By you helping them combat that negative thinking, you will be able to keep them from going down that road of the negative thinking, and it will make, if it's a work situation, this will improve their ability to work and their ability to process and stuff, so that will help them. If this is a relationship you're in, that will help you and them in how to process things. There are so many things that can come out of just a little shift to the left or right and put some grays in there that you can benefit from and they can benefit from, because the fact is, it's not all black and white. It's not all or nothing. It's not generalization. It's not minimizing. It's not maximizing. It's not labeling. It's all these different thoughts. And I understand it's a big challenge. It is for me every day. If I'm driving in the DFW area, there's several times that I'll call people stupid because of the way they're driving. Okay, I can't help that everybody can't drive and, cut you off in the middle of rush hour traffic and run over you or whatever, At least they didn't hit me, and I'll get home in one piece and my truck won't be damaged. And, so you got to work those grays into your thinking. You got to slowly keep that, start painting that black a little gray, and start painting that white a little gray, and slowly get grays. Ever how many shades of grays there are in the world? I don't know, let's just say 25 shades of gray. Then paint those 25 shades of gray into your black, into your white, until you have a very grayish, blackish white color that is yours and that you can live with. And that's why it comes down to an individual thinking. I can't tell people how you should think. I can't tell people what you should deal with. I can't tell people whatever. In the military, we had that authority to keep everybody alive. And really, that was the bottom line. But in the day-to-day operations, we went through a lot of things with people. And we had to challenge ourselves in how to fix problems and look at that black and white. Like when I became an NCO, I used to incorporate my soldiers' thinking into what I was trying to figure out, and this will give you an insight on how they think, and this pays off later on when you're in a shit hits the fan situation with your combat or whatever, and you know how that person's thinking, and you can react to them, and that's something that civilians will never know, because they're never going to be in that life-death situation of having to say, hey, I trust you with my life and you trust me with my life, and let's just get this thing done. That's one of those rarities of reality that only few people know. And by knowing that, you know that, hey, I've been up against the worst and the best, and it's worked out for me. So I can have these thoughts and I can combat them. Another one of the cognitive thoughts is you should. Everybody thinks you should get this, or you should get that, or you should be doing this. I want to provide peer support. I should be reaching out to people. I should be talking to people about my experiences, telling my story. I should be a mental health advocate. It's things that you have to do in order to know that this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to fix whatever it is that I want to fix. And my purpose is, as I say all the time, is helping veterans, and whether or not that's listening to them talk about how they're getting ready to come on active duty and they don't know what to do, and I can share with them my experiences, or if it's I don't know if I should tell my boss about my mental health condition, which My advice is you should not, because it's none of their damn business. And the stuff like that, so it just really comes down to, as those thoughts come in, flip those thoughts around and change them into a positive mindset. And that's why I talked about open mindset versus closed mindset. In other words, you have a choice of what to do with that thought. It's either act on it or kick it out. 99% of the thoughts that you have, you're going to kick them out because they're not worth anything. And that's the beauty of the human mind, is we have so many thousands of thoughts a day. It's just like, hey, I can do this. It's just like, and in time, and the thing about it is, you may be thinking, while I've been sitting here, of the thoughts, that I've had, and my thoughts keep flowing, but I keep focused. I don't go chase a rabbit every time that thought comes up. Oh, look, there's a bird. Let's talk about birds. No, let's talk about this. And that's the neat thing about being focused and being in tune with your thoughts. The days that I don't feel like getting out of bed, I still get out of bed. Yesterday my sinuses were kicking my ass, but I still got out of bed. I still did something. Then I went back to bed. But hey, to each his own. And today, I'm not going to miss doing my videos simply because my sinuses are killing me. It really boils down to just the simple fact of you deciding what you want to do. Nobody can decide for you. Nobody can make you do things that you want to do. Your thoughts cannot make you do what they want to do. You control your thoughts. You just have to get into that mindset that you are the one in control. Like I said, it's not an easy thing to do, but if you are consciously making an effort to change your negative thinking into positive thinking, you will make a difference. Maybe just a little dent at first, but you'll eventually have that first hole dug where you bury that negative thought, and that you can get positive thoughts going. So today, just have a good day. Think positive thoughts. Make good decisions about what you do with your thoughts. Ones that you kick out and ones that you keep and you act on them. Like I said, this is something I like doing more than anything else, is helping veterans. And so next week I think we're going to keep going down this road of mental health awareness. I'm wanting to work toward the winter time, which is coming up here in a few weeks, when we shift change over to change time, and darkness will start coming in earlier. Suicides are higher during the winter time because of the darkness, and the depression gets higher, and all the stuff that's hard to deal with. And so we'll talk about ways to combat depression and stuff like that when the darkness comes in. Like I said, whenever I get a thought in my head to have a video next week, that's the one I'll do. I'll post it on my Facebook page a couple days out, so you'll be able to see it and know what we're going to talk about. So I just want to thank y'all for joining me today, and y'all have a good day. And remember that I'm always here for you. You can reach out to me in instant Facebook Messenger, instant messenger, and let me know, hey, this is what I'm feeling, and I like to be able to talk about it. And so we'll talk to you next week. Bye.